A new horror gem that you can't miss. Evil Dead Rise is a movie for people over 18, because it has no mercy on anyone and anything. Where we see some completely terrified young people who will have to brutally face their mother, who was possessed by a macabre demon. This movie is a bloodbath, so prepare your popcorn, your cross, holy water and 3 Our Fathers because we started. Don't forget to subscribe or Ellie will be after you. Evil Dead begins in a forest, exactly a lake, where a young woman is sitting listening to music and is scared by another young man who is the boyfriend of her friend Jessica. He is playing with his drone knowing that his girlfriend is wrong and he left her alone. The friend decides better to withdraw from the lake and returns to the cabin in search of Jessica and asks her to lend her car because she does not want to be there with her anymore boyfriend. Jessica doesn't answer her and her friend sits down to read a book about Wuthering Heights staying better with her. So she sits next to her and starts reading. Suddenly she hears Jessica reciting something and is surprised to see her sitting on the bed. She is terrified to realize that she was reciting a paragraph from the page she is reading in her mind, and then her voice turns manly and hideous. Her friend tells her to shut up. And when he starts to move toward her, Jessica falls silent and falls off the bed. Her friend approaches her and finds her unconscious, but suddenly, she gets up from her and starts having convulsions. The young woman controls her and tries to help, but Jessica grabs her and rips her hair out. Then she leaves the cabin asking for help and bumps into her demon friend's boyfriend, who is surprised to see her and only then sees the possessed Jessica. She grabs the drone and smiles at her before cutting his face with it and falling into the water. Her boyfriend jumps into the water to save her, but she throws him into the water to kill him and throws the severed head off, then levitates out of the water. One day before the cabin, we meet Beth. She is at a music venue working, but she goes into the bathroom to take a pregnancy test and realizes that she is pregnant. She has a worried expression on her face when she sees the result. We see her going to her sister's house to talk about this, so we know the one who will be crazier than your ex, Beth's sister Ellie, who is a tattoo artist who lives with her 3 children, Danny who is a DJ, Bridget an activist, and little Cassie who has a fascination for the macabre. In that we meet 2 neighbors and friends of Bridget, named Jake and Scott. Bridget and her siblings are a happy family, having fun. That's when they knock on the door, but Ellie doesn't see anyone, although Beth scares her, receiving a welcome blow. Once inside the apartment, Cassie talks to her aunt why she does this macabre defense, and it's because Danny told him that there was a bank down here before and it was where a banker hanged himself for stealing money. The sisters are separated and have had a relationship complicated by the death of their mother. Beth brings gifts, and when she takes out the gift for the lazy father of the family, everyone is silent. Ellie sends the boy with her sisters to buy pizza and tells Beth that her husband left her. Beth asks why she never told her, to which she tells him that she tried to contact her twice, but she never listened because she was with her band. Now Beth realizes her mistake and apologizes to her, but Ellie is furious, listening to her audio and talking to the 2 that they will support each other because they will be kicked out of the hotel because it will collapse. When the kids come back from buying pizza, a huge earthquake hits, causing a mysterious entrance in the parking lot. Danny finds a hole and goes in because he manages to see boxes and notices something on a bank vault. He finds a hidden room full of CDs, vinyl and a mystery book, books and photos of priests and many spooky objects. Ellie was worried about the boys, but then a muscular neighbor came out to help find her children. We also met an old man who was insane. At that moment the children arrive by the elevator. Everyone is happy. Danny takes the book to the apartment, trying to open the book. She cuts her hand with some strange teeth that close it and the blood drips on the book and is absorbed by it. Bridget notices that the book opens and he is surprised to see it. And when Danny opens the book, they see horrible pictures in it, so Bridget closes the book and tells him that she doesn't like it and he has to return it right now. However, after she leaves the room, Danny listens to one of the vinyls and a priest's voice speaks about the nature of the recitation of the Necronomicon, where a priest speaks that they should not open that book. An unholy incantation is heard. Danny is terrified and tries to stop it, but she can't and the vinyl keeps playing and the pages of the book start to turn automatically. As Ellie goes to hang the clothes, she goes back up in the elevator and we see an invisible force moving towards her building, and when she gets out of the elevator, she is suddenly attacked by an invisible entity and the elevator starts going down very fast, so she passes out. Now, when she regains consciousness after a while, her head hurts. Ella screams for help and tries to get out, but only then does she realize that an invisible entity is accompanying her. which begins to torture her. She is cornered, rips off her earrings, hangs her and ties her up with the elevator cables, stretching her until she breaks her bones and making her suffer. Danny closes the book in fear. The power to the whole building goes out. It seems that only her building is failing. Danny checks the fuse and Bridget is lighting the candles, when Ellie returns to the apartment now possessed by demons. She goes to the kitchen, starts acting strangely and starts saying incoherently. She places the frying pan and starts throwing eggs with all the shells in the frying pan and on the floor, some of them full of blood. Everyone is surprised to see this and Beth asks her what she is doing, where she only responds with macabre incoherences and begins to laugh, at which point the frying pan falls and Ellie reacts and takes control of her body for a few seconds and says, "It's on me," in her acknowledging that something had gotten into him. She walks towards her children on all four legs, creating panic in all of them. Her body was noticeable in a paranormal way. Ellie stops and begins to vomit a white liquid all over the floor. Seeing that the children are terrified, Ellie fights and controls her body once again, managing to speak and begs Beth not to let the demons take her children, whereupon she collapses and sadly dies. Danny and Beth try to take her to the hospital, but she discovers that the elevator is broken. Explaining this to the neighbors, Gabriel tries to close her eyes, but Ellie opens them again. The old man has no signal on the phone and to calm things down Gabriel prays, although Beth tells him that he was not a believer. To get out they will use the fire door, although it is there. Closed, the old man tries to go for the shotgun to open it, while Beth speaks a few words of regret with her sister, for the bad relationship they had, and then suddenly, the phone rings and it is Ellie who tells her that she is in hell and that burns alive and is waiting for her. The phone gets so hot it breaks. Ellie really is possessed. Now when Beth turns around she sees a fly in her sister's eye who blinks and she wakes up alive again. The kids get there and find out that their mother is alive and Beth tells them that she is burning up with a fever. Beth and Danny put her in a tub filled with cold water, but the water burns her because it starts to boil, her eyes turn white. And the demon awakens in her again and she jumps to the roof. She looks at them in a chilling way. Everyone is terrified to see this and Bridget takes Cassie away. Ellie then crawls up the wall and lets out a deafening scream which is also heard by Gabriel and the old man outside, and the bathroom mirrors also break due to this, then goes silent and falls back into the tub, but at the moment she comes out of the bathtub with her hands and body deformed, and when Danny says Mom, she tells him that Mom is with the worms. Now Ellie crawls out of the bathtub with a piece of glass in her hand and tries to attack Beth, and when trying to save herself, she cuts her hand. Bridget tells her to stop, having all the attention of her mother who jumps on her and then cuts her cheek with the tattoo machine. When she tries to lick the wound, Danny arrives who stops her for a few seconds with a chair. Gabriel gets there and Ellie jumps on him to attack him. They leave the apartment and the demon ends up biting him until he takes out her eye, and then vomits it into Bridget's friend's mouth. Beth reaches the door and sees what happened. Taking advantage of it, she leaves her outside and Ellie begins to hit her head on the door. Then after a while everything calms down and Beth looks through the hole in the door where she sees Ellie chasing Bridget's friends. Gabriel gets up and calls for help, but Ellie gets there and kills him by slitting his throat. The neighbor shoots Ellie with his rifle, but she attacks him and disarms him then returns and peers through the hole in the door paranormally looking at Beth. Bridget asks Danny, "Don't you think Mom looks like the pictures in that book?" Danny says that this is not her fault and they both start fighting. Their Aunt Beth arrives and calms them down and asks them not to attack each other again. Danny fearfully tells her that she wants to show him something of herself. He shows her her book and she is surprised, asking him what is this. Meanwhile, Cassie is worried about Bridget and asks her if her wound hurts a lot, but she claims to be fine, and begins to behave strangely. She turns on the stove, uncovers her wound and it grows paranormally, and at the same time, room time, Danny shows everything to her Aunt Beth and all the pages of the book turn until they reach a creepy photo. Bridget starts spewing black liquid from all the orifices on her face. She immediately rinses it, but she is useless. Then she vomits a lot of strange insects. Cassie was gone because she hears her mother sing a song and she follows the voice to the door. Ellie tries to convince her. Cassie goes up to the table and sees her through the hole, and as soon as she opens the lock, Ellie immediately grabs her by the neck to hurt her. However, Beth and Danny hear the noises and run there to save her, and Beth manages to lock the door again. The evil spirit yells at Beth to open the door for her, just as she spreads her filthy legs. Beth sends the boys to her room, where Danny and Cassie are startled by hearing sounds. Beth hears a noise in the kitchen, and when Beth goes there to check, She finds Bridget crouched on the kitchen counter. When she walks up to her, her foot hits a pot and she is terrified to see that she is rigid chewing a glass cup, where we notice the glass pass down her throat. Then she laughs looking at her and spits in her face. Muttering, Bridget starts to crawl towards her, but she kicks him away. However, Bridget cuts her leg off with a cheese grater. Beth knocks her down with the pot, but it's not enough as she stands up again. Danny arrives and Bridget chases after her siblings until she goes after Cassie, who holds the pointy end of one of her makeshift dolls and impales Bridget, leaving her stiff. Meanwhile outside, Ellie is screaming like your ex when she sees you with someone else. Danny ties Bridget up and puts her to bed to be safe. Beth fixes Danny's equipment to play the vinyl. And here is the priest talking about how he had to kill his companions who were possessed. To kill them even he had to dismember them completely, while she continues to listen in terror. Ellie tries to find a way back to the apartment, climbing, even through the vents. Beth keeps listening to the vinyl. Bridget gets up and leaves the room. Danny sees her trying to attack her little sister, so she pushes to Cassie to save her and stabs Bridget. Then she attacks him and pulls out the knife and stabs him in his hand and then vomits red liquid on his face and tells him that he told her to return the book with a scary voice. However, he manages to set Bridget on fire using spray. Beth listens to the vinyl. Ellie manages to enter the room and is behind her. When Beth realizes, she runs from her and stabs her with a screwdriver in the neck, but it does not affect her and Beth is thrown from the room. She finds Danny injured there, and Cassie hiding under a table, and Danny before dying tells Cassie that she is sorry, because she feels that he has let her down. Ellie gets there and attacks Beth, but the demon senses that Beth is pregnant and tells her that Ellie is waiting in hell for her and their bastard baby. Cassie looks at a pair of scissors and passes it to her Aunt Beth to use against his own mother. They both run, and she tries to open the fire door. She takes the shotgun from the neighbor, while Ellie is already awake and follows after them. Beth takes the shotgun and was about to blow up the fire escape door when Ellie tries to attack them. Quickly he shoots Ellie's leg, gets up and tells Cassie that Beth is trying to take her mom away, to which Cassie tells her that she knows she's not her mom anymore, and then Beth shoots her arm too. However, the neighbors that Ellie killed, now also become dead with evil spirits. Bridget and Danny leave the apartment and prostrate themselves to her mother, and with Ellie they laugh devilishly. Beth and Cassie run and try to go down in the elevator, but liquid starts coming out of the keyboard, floor and everywhere, filling everywhere. Meanwhile, Bridget and Danny start digging into Ellie's body to form a spider species. The elevator exceeds the maximum weight due to excess fluid, thus reaching Beth and Cassie in the parking lot and almost escaping, but the car gets stuck. Cassie looks back and tells him to get closer and sees the paranormal spider coming towards them. However, when it gets to the car they manage to get out and hide, then run for their lives so they can get under the bars before it closes, until they grab Cassie and drag her away. They almost decapitate her with a chainsaw until Beth gets there and shoots them with the gun. The chainsaw is thrown at her, causing Beth to fall, and she was about to have the chainsaw but was grabbed by her leg and dragged away. The dead activate a chipper and try to throw it out, but Cassie manages to turn it off. As Beth falls, she grabs the chainsaw and the dead move towards her. Cassie turns on the chipper and Beth cuts Ellie, Bridget and Danny, forcing them into the chipper. She feels pain when he has to finish off his sister, niece and nephew, but they no longer exist. Cassie mourns the loss of her family, but Beth comforts her and leads her out of the building. In the final chapter it is revealed that Jessica lived on the ground floor of the same building. She is preparing to join her friend and her new boyfriend and go to the cabin with that lake that we saw at the beginning, but a day before she finds with the bloody scene, being chased by the evil spirit and causing Jessica to scream and get inside her. Leave us your comment if you have ever felt a strange entity, like it and subscribe to my channel, it will be of great support. And click the bell icon to never miss new video updates. Thanks for watching.